to Deborah and Garrett too. They're over there in the top.
Do me a favor. You mentioned to me like some highlights.
Hey, how are you?
Right, because like, you were talking about put in there, you know. You know that.
Because it still has it on your online. Thank you. There you are, you can have it. It's a souvenir. I have it on my phone. I don't need any because the agenda.
No, it'll be on my website.
I just persuade them, you know. I've been their president for like 14 years.
My dad was on the board of education. How long have you been around? He was a veterinarian. They were in on Main Springs Road with a bobble dealership. 1968.
Good evening, welcome to the Red Bank Council meeting for July 18th. Please rise for the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilman Taylor?
Here.
Councilman Whalen?
Here.
Councilman Yangstrom? Councilman Ballard?
Here.
Councilman Ziprich?
Here.
Councilwoman Horning?
Here.
Sunshine Statement, please.
Let the minutes reflect that in compliance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act, the notice of this meeting has been provided by notifying the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and the Star Ledger by placing a notice in the bulletin board and filing same with the Borough Clerk on June 13, 2018.
Thank you. Is there a motion to suspend the regular order of business? So second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we have two presentations this evening. First is a annual presentation by the Monmouth Boat Club. I know the Commodore is here. And Commodore, could you favor us with your presence? You didn't bring the boat this time?
We're hoping to get you back out on the boat this year.
Only for the life preserver.
So I'm happy to be here with our Vice Commodore Bob Markoff.
Hey, Bob.
Mayor,
Nice to meet you.
And it's our pleasure to come to the council meeting this evening to present you with, on behalf of our club, with a donation for all of the good stewardship and services that the Borough of Red Bank provides to our club. We've been here, I think, now 139 years, and hope that
Let's make it 140.
we'll at least get to 140. And we've certainly enjoyed the help and the services that we've gotten, in particular over the last few weeks with the fire department and with the water and sewer groups here in Red Bank. They've been very helpful to us.
Well, Commodore, I want to thank you on behalf of the council and also our residents. And I remember when you got your status. I was on the council then. I think former Councilman Paul Forsman was a member at the time, or maybe Assistant Commodore. And I remember being at that original council meeting, and the club had indicated that they recognized that they were, as a national site, a historic site, they were going to be exempt from taxation, but they said they recognized then that even though they could use to keep some of the money that they raised, that they also had a stewardship obligation to Red Bank residents and taxpayers, and they offered then to give a voluntary contribution every year. And you know something? They kept their word. And the residents are grateful. The municipality has a 15% tax exempt status where 50% of the properties are not taxable. For the Monmouth Boat Club to keep its word after so many years and to do it voluntarily, it's a real partnership with the residents of Red Bank. And you have one of the most incredible views in all of the Eastern Shore. So,
Mayor, it's our pleasure.
So invite me over to next club meeting so I can avail myself of those views from your veranda.
That's a deal.
Next, we have an extraordinary person who, God, how many years do we go back? I'm not going to say how many, though. Yes, I got the hint. But if I may indulge for a second, I mean, this woman is incredible, and I think, if I may say so, part of it is not just because of your spirit of dedication to education and the children of Red Bank, but also, I think, is a memory of the great interest that your late husband, Richard, had in education and having served on the Board of Education for so many years. And I remember both you and Richard, when I first got started with the late Mary Ann Canavo running for council, and name from the past, sitting in your living room on South Street, and some of the wonderful discussions that we had, and watching your children grow up over the years to mature individuals and responsible people in their own right. And I see your activism on the Board of Education and the regional board, all that you've done. And I don't know where you get the energy to do it.
Chocolate.
Okay. but you do it well. And I know that your fellow board members are here, not only to recognize you, but to support you and to continue to act as your supporters in your continuing involvement at so many different levels. So the council wanted to recognize you, and the proclamation is as follows. Whereas Emily Doherty graduated from Smith College, received her Master of Arts in Teaching from Wesleyan University, and taught biology and French in both the Connecticut and New Jersey public school systems. And I didn't know you taught French, but Councilwoman Morgan appreciates that. And whereas the Doherty family moved to Red Bank in 1973, and all 4 of her children graduated from Red Bank Borough Public Schools and Red Bank Regional High School. And whereas Ms. Doherty joined the Red Bank Regional Board of Education in 1983, representing Red Bank Borough, and is the longest serving board member. And whereas she was an original proponent of the award-winning Visual and Performing Arts Academy, which was created the same year she joined the board in 1983. And whereas while raising her children, Ms. Doherty volunteered extensively with the Girl Scouts and the Red Bank Public Schools, and has worked for the State of New Jersey's Division of Developmental Disabilities for the past 23 years as a case management supervisor. And whereas Ms. Doherty has stated that she is devoted to the school district, which has helped a multitude of students from many backgrounds and many cultures learn and achieve, that she enjoys the service and is excited to have some small part in helping such a wonderful institution get better and better each year. And whereas Ms. Doherty was honored by the school district at its annual dinner on May 7th for her 35 years of service. Now therefore, I, Madam Mayor of Borough of Red Bank, do hereby proclaim July 18th, 2018 as an official day of recognition for Emily Doherty, a person who should serve as a model to others, and thank her for her tireless commitment to the youth of our community. We wish her good luck, health and happiness, and continued service for many more years to come. Councilwoman Gordon. Doesn't work.
Thank you so much.
It's okay, stay here.
I wanted to say that every once in a while you come across something that you can actually blame on your mother. And I can blame my love of school on her, because I was sent to nursery school at the age of 2.5 because she was pregnant and I gave up my nap. I've been in love with school ever since. And I want to thank all of you. I think that the children of this community, or of any community, are the most important investment that we have. And all we can do is to join hands and put all of our support into the very best education that we can give them. I do believe that we do that at RBR. And I also want to tell you that for the very first time in my connection with RBR, the valedictorian of the class of 2018, Harrison Jane, is a Red Bank student.
We have Sean Garofalo as well as Patrick Noble from the Regional School Board, and also Erwin. Yeah. Would anyone want to say something?
Yeah, real quick.
You never reject.
Me? No, you know me better than that. I've been on the board 18 years, Emily, I guess? 18, 20 years?
Been harassing me ever since.
And I've been president. I got either I'm good or I'm stupid, one or the other. But I've been president a long time, and it's a thankless job. We all love it, and I took my real quick. I got elected vice president years ago, and Les Taylor was the president. I don't think his wife even knows this.
And Mrs. Taylor's here.
Mrs. Taylor's.
Les goes to me.
Says Mark.
By the way, you have to give the speech at graduation because I'm going to a wedding. So I was scared to death. Called Emily, came to my house, we wrote the first speech, and we've been, well, her kids went to school with my kids, so I've known her a long time. But I want to thank her for all the guidance she gave me over the years to become a good board member. I think I'm good. But I want to thank her, and you couldn't find a better lady to be on the school board. She's fantastic.
Any other board members?
Mayor, thank you.
Patrick?
Mayor, I just want to chime in. I am a child of this community, and I have definitely benefited from Ms. Doherty's stewardship on the board. My father served for 20 years. I know, John, you guys overlap a little, and Emily's been the stalwart on that Board of Education, representing Red Bank extremely well. And I'm truly proud as a Red Bank student, as a Red Bank regional graduate. I just want to say personally thank you for your service and for continuing to serve the residents and the students of Red Bank. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Emily, I just wanted to echo Mark's sentiment. I mean, for the projects that you and I have been engaged in on behalf of the students in the regional high school, we can't thank you enough for your service. You do an awful lot. You've been a stalwart, dedicated resident representative on that board, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, I think everybody has said what needs to be said, but Emily has become a good friend, and we have had meetings where we talk about education and our kids and how we can better our educational system. So thank you for that. You've given me a lot of insight into our educational system, so thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Is there a motion to resume the regular order of business? So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
You don't have to stay.
You can go celebrate, or you can stay.
Don't forget to mention.
Workshop. Workshop meetings is one of the agenda. Zia?
Yes, Mayor. The resolution is on the agenda, resolution number, thank you. Resolution is on the agenda, or will be on the agenda. It's proposed, the clerk has prepared it with proposed meeting dates to hold workshop meetings. I understand this is a new process for the governing body here, but it is something that is done in municipalities around the state, and it's an opportunity. It's also a meeting that's open to the public, but it's an opportunity for the council to get together, review agenda items in the coming meetings. A format that I've traditionally used is almost a 30, 60, 90-day approach where we look at resolutions and ordinances forecast for you to consider, as well as discuss policy items, initiative items that you would like, and review monthly reports by the department heads. I think that's something that will help create a little bit more synchronization between the governing body and with the administration, and also have thoughtful deliberations on the agenda items before you.
I think it's a great idea, and I welcome it. The only problem with one of these dates, Halloween.
Yes.
And there are people who have kids who will probably be out then. that evening. But aside from that, I think this will be good. We need to discuss issues and to really plan for things so that we really have a good understanding of everything.
When we discussed this, the administrator's idea was to pick the first Monday, or the first Wednesday, since the Wednesday schedule, but the first Wednesday of September fell on Labor Day. No, I'm sorry, because of Labor Day, the planning board had taken the first Wednesday, so that's why we're back to August. It was the same thing in November. The first Monday was, was it Veterans?
Election day. Election day.
That's Tuesday.
There was a conflict.
There was a conflict in November, that's, yes, so it backed up, yeah, it backed up. That's why it's on the October 31st.
Well, I won't be out trick-or-treating, so
You can wear a mask. Okay, unless there's an objection, it'll be added on as Resolution 18-190. Second is grace period for payments of the third quarter taxes. Virginia or Michael, but this is a standard resolution. The council agrees for it. We will give people an additional 25 days of grace. Instead of the tax payments for the third quarter due on August 1st, there will be a 25-day grace period, so that payments will be due no later than September 14th. If there is no objection to this, we'll add this as Resolution 18-191. Any questions? No? Okay. Moving right along then. Any other thing for workshop? If not, approval of the minutes for... Sorry. Approval of the minutes for June 27th. Motion? Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayoral appointments. It's my pleasure to appoint former Executive Director of the Red Bank Housing Authority, Mary Harrison, as a member of the Board of Trustees of the Red Bank Housing Authority for an unexpired 5-year term from 12/31/2021. Motion to confirm. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We have some reports of mayor and council committee members. And prior to moving on to the reports, that wasn't scheduled, but prior to moving to the reports, there's an action item which is actually an ordinance for public hearing and final adoption that's been on the council agenda for a substantial period of time. It's been carried after it was introduced. Public hearing has been carried from June 27, 2018. It would be ordinance 2018-16, which is entitled an ordinance amending the Borough Code, Chapter 331, Animals, to include new Article 8, regulating the sale of dogs and cats and prohibiting the sale of certain dogs and cats from pet shops. It is the ordinance that has received a substantial amount of public interest. The council and its professionals have spent hours and hours of meetings, conferences, deliberations, review with the borough attorney as well as with borough staff. And the ordinance was initially drafted with extraordinary public interest and has maintained a high level of discussion and public interest. The reality is that as we are sitting here now, there is insufficient support for acting on the ordinance in one fashion or another. And I would therefore at this point entertain, subject to reports that are going to be submitted later by members of the council, but I would like to entertain a motion to withdraw ordinance 2018-16 due to the inability to muster sufficient amount of support. Is there a motion? Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So ordinance 2018-16 is withdrawn. Reports of mayor and council committee members.
Thank you, Mayor. The Finance Committee has not met since our last meeting, but I did just want to briefly touch upon something that the council has been working on and the Finance Committee has really pushed, and that's to find alternative means to find funding for our government. And one of the things we did back in April, I believe, was we put out for bid a grant consultant that we actually hired in April. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview, thanks to V, who provided this summary for us of what that grant consultant has done so far. So on the list, I see 8 total opportunities for us to get grant funding. It looks like 2 have actually been submitted, 1 is in the process of being submitted, and there are 4 that we are working on to get submitted. The 8 total opportunities equal about $1.75 million in grant money. Now, let's be very, very clear. We have not been awarded any of this money. Please, but the fact that we are out there seeking this money, I think is great for our borough, and I applaud the effort to the council for supporting our grant consultant and putting out that money to hire them, and we're starting to see results. So hopefully this money starts trickling in, and it'll be great for our borough. So that's the only thing I had to say. The borough president would like to know the dollar total of possible grant money that we could be looking at. $1.75 million.
Thank you, Mike. Ed?
Thanks, Mayor. I met with Jim Scavone and Jacqueline from Ingenuity and representatives from JCP&L about the English Plaza and White Street lot streetscape project, and participated in a conference call follow-up on Monday about the relocation of several telephone poles both in English Plaza and White Street. Kieran from JCP&L has reached out to his Verizon counterparts to help facilitate some help in cleaning up some of the poles and equipment in the English Plaza lot. We're hoping that that will help with the cleaning up the viewpoints from the middle of English Plaza as this project becomes reality. River Center and Ingenuity are working out design details based on their budget estimates. There'll be more to follow as the project moves forward. I'd like to thank those here at the borough and around the business community for taking time to meet with Ingenuity. They did a lot of one-on-one interviews with folks involved in our community, and the Ingenuity staff gathered all of that data. They also made sure that the ideas that were shared and the concerns that were expressed were all broadcast to everybody that participated, so they did a really great job on that. This beautification project will enhance visuals and traffic and parking flow, both in English Plaza and along the corridor there at White Street. We're looking forward to establishing this council workshop that Z talked about. Those meetings each month will be a great way to disseminate information among council members along with the public. He and I have talked about this additional change, and he has also included conversations with other members of the council along with the mayor to making municipal government more open and transparent in setting our agenda. So Z, I wanted to thank you for moving that forward for our team and for our community. River Center is also pleased to report that there are 4 new businesses that have opened in Karma To Go at Westside Lofts, the Melting Pot at the Galleria, Semolina in the former dish space on White Street, and Wild on Bridge Avenue. The Indie Street Film Festival is back, and the new Indie Street Film Festival mural is up for the 3rd year in a row, which is pretty awesome. Thanks to all the painters and designers. I know you had a little weather issue there to finish it, but fingers crossed we'll get that done in the next weekend. VISCOMI Center. Thanks, Kate. The festival kicks off on July 25th and concludes on the 29th. Don't miss it. You can visit IndieStreetFilmFestival.org for tickets and information. It was a great event last year. I'm sure it'll be an even better event this year. And at the 64th annual sidewalk sale will take place July 27th through 29th. And you can visit redbank.org for participating businesses that are selling their wares at the almost senior citizen annual sidewalk. So thank you.
Thank you. Kathy?
Thank you, Mayor. Eric Engstrom is on vacation. He would be here, but he had made his vacation plans way before we changed the dates for July and August, and he asked me if I would report on the Parks and Rec. I do have a few items. Jazz in the Park returns tomorrow with the Eddie Allen Quartet at 7 p.m. at Riverside Gardens Park. Next Tuesday's movie is Ghostbusters, the original, which is the best, starting at dusk. And Parks and Rec is still taking registration for the camp out in the park on Friday, July 27th. So if you'd like to camp out, please go on to our website, see our Parks and Rec department, what they have, and you'll be able to register. Dog Days will be taking place on Monday, August 6th at 6 p.m. And I was asked to let you know that they will be asking for donations of dog and cat food or bird seed, I'm sure, and toys, any kind of products like paper towels and wipes that will be given to local Red Bank rescue groups. And you can go onto their Facebook page for additional information. What I'd like to do now is segue into what has become known as the Puppy Mills Ordinance, which the mayor has talked about and which has been withdrawn. I just want to say that, first of all, none of us up here are for puppy mills, none of us. And this was an issue I didn't even know anything about before I became a liaison to the Animal Welfare Committee, but I certainly have learned a lot. I spent several months researching the issue, meeting with the Animal Welfare Committee and pet shop advocates, as well as other animal welfare groups. Everyone has been working very hard on this. It's been a difficult issue, with all sides raising very valid points and counterpoints through numerous emails, telephone calls, and through the local media. Throughout the process, I have informed the mayor and the council about what's been going on. Personally, I've concluded that there is a rampant abuse of the federal puppy mill regulations, and the New Jersey Pet Purchase Protection Act does not end the bad practices of these so-called puppy mills. The New Jersey Pet Purchase Protection Act essentially fails to ensure that all dogs and cats sold in the state are from reputable facilities. I've also concluded that the borough does not have the resources, employees, or framework in place to solve these nationwide and statewide problems without spending a lot of tax dollars, either in litigation defending an outright ban, or by creating a wholly new municipal office to regulate what is essentially one existing shop in our town. Further, I've heard from residents who care deeply about animals, but whose primary concern was that tax dollars should not be utilized to fight this issue on the municipal level. I'm disappointed to say that despite all of our efforts to craft a compromise ordinance and investigate ways to solve this problem with the borough, this issue is best left to federal and state authorities to resolve. So what I'm recommending is that we adopt a resolution tonight, a resolution, not an ordinance, explaining our investigation, review, and conclusions, and requesting that the governor and state legislature take action to either fix the Pet Purchase Protection Act or enact a statewide ban on the sale of puppy mill animals, just as Maryland and California have done. So I would like to present a resolution. Would you like to read it? All right. The resolution that I'm proposing states, whereas the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee of the Borough of Red Bank, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, together with several outside animal welfare advocacy groups, brought to the attention of the borough's governing body the existence of numerous lapses in regulation and loopholes in restrictions with respect to the state of New Jersey's pet purchase protection law. And whereas the borough's governing body has spent several months meeting with members of the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, pet shop industry advocates, and animal welfare advocates in order to review and study the alleged lapses in regulation and loopholes in restrictions under the state's pet purchase protection law. And whereas after months of review and research, the borough's governing body has concluded that there are a significant number of puppies and kittens sold at pet shops in the state of New Jersey, including some puppies and kittens sold within the limits of the borough, that come from commercial breeding facilities where the health and welfare of the animals are not adequately provided for. And whereas the borough's governing body has further concluded that, undoubtedly, certain problems exist within the regulatory framework surrounding the state's pet purchase protection law, including, but not limited to, the disguised sourcing of animals, the lack of adequate information available to retail customers, the falsification of documents by industry participants, the federal government's refusal to make available to the public certain USDA inspection reports, and the fact that the vast majority of disreputable commercial breeding facilities are located out of state. And whereas, after reaching said conclusions, the borough's governing body attempted to draft an ordinance to utilize municipal resources to augment the pet purchase protection law for the benefit of local residents and consumers. And whereas the borough's governing body introduced 2 proposed ordinances and met with the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, pet shop industry advocates, and animal welfare advocates on numerous occasions in an attempt to craft a municipal regulatory framework that worked both practically and economically for the borough's residents, business owners, visitors, and taxpayers. And whereas, despite their substantial work on this issue and receipt of valuable input from the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee and other advocates, the borough's governing body has determined that any ordinance augmenting the regulations and restrictions of the state's pet purchase protection law within the limits of the borough would likely face substantial challenges when it comes to enforcement, and would certainly require substantial municipal resources to create a new regulatory framework within the local borough government. And whereas the borough's governing body has further determined that even if the borough were to adopt an ordinance and commit municipal resources to augmenting the pet purchase protection law within the limits of the borough, the larger federal and state regulatory problems with the pet purchase protection law would continue to exist. Now therefore be it resolved that the governing body of the Borough of Red Bank, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, hereby requests that the governor and state legislature review the New Jersey Pet Purchase Protection Law and at minimum introduce legislation amending said law to resolve the numerous problems within its regulatory framework, including, but not limited to, the disguised sourcing of animals, the lack of adequate information available to retail customers, the falsification of documents by industry participants, the federal government's refusal to make available to the public certain USDA inspection reports, and the fact that the vast majority of disreputable commercial breeding facilities are located beyond the jurisdiction of the state of New Jersey. And be it further resolved that in the alternative, the governing body of the Borough of Red Bank, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, hereby requests that the governor and state legislature consider a statewide ban on the retail sale of certain dogs and cats, as has been enacted in the state of Maryland and the state of California. And be it further resolved that the governing body of the Borough of Red Bank, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, hereby directs that a certified copy of the resolution be forwarded to Governor Philip D. Murphy, State Senator Vingo Powell, Assemblyman Eric Hotelling, and Assemblywoman Joanne Downing.
Unless there is an objection, that the added as Resolution 18-192. Anything else, Kathy?
No, but I did just want to thank the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee, the advocacy groups, and the staff the council, our mayor, our business administrator, our borough attorney. Everybody's worked so long and hard on this. I think this is the best resolution that we can come to at this time.
Thank you. Kathy, I just wanted to thank you, along with the Animal Welfare Advisory Committee and members of the council. This has been a very emotional issue for each and every member of the governing body here. And I'm glad that we all took the time. I know it's been month after month dealing with this, but we took the time to sort this out, and I'm glad that we have this resolution. And I thank you for seeing this all the way through.
Thank you. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. I apologize, I was at last meeting. It was a work conference, same conference once every year since my 3 absences so far. No report, actually, but I just wanted to really quickly compliment Councilwoman Morgan. I think you just so eloquently, with humility and grace, just gave a really nice statement, and it was very touching, moving for myself. At any point, you could have easily called for a vote. Took the easy way out just to get it over with, and you didn't. And for months and months, you've sat through this emotionally, meeting with everybody. And I just want to thank you because you didn't have to handle it the way you did, and you chose the hard way, and you just really, it was really touching. So just thank you for seeing this out, and I'm glad that we're going to hopefully come together as a consensus.
Thank you, Michael. Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. Code committee's not met as I was dealing with changes in my family circumstances recently, so.
Changing diapers?
Yeah, changing diapers and priorities at the same time. But I do have 2 updates for the Environmental Commission. One, we were awarded a grant for water stations actually a couple months ago, and through the process of getting kind of everything in order, I wasn't going to put the cart before the horse and announce it. We finally have gotten the artwork, and the order has gone out and everything. We are just basically waiting delivery at this point. They will be installed in a couple locations around town. We were awarded enough money to purchase 2 on our own, and DPU, I believe, is buying 2 more. 1 more?
The first order is going to be high. I'm just reading the
Sorry, yeah, I'm looking to Kate for facts.
No, we're getting 3 in the first purchase order. Johnny Jazz, Riverside Gardens Park, and Count Basie, and then
Count Basie.
And then Eastside Park was going to be the 4th in the future plan. But yeah, we were awarded our first Sustainable Jersey grant ever.
Yeah, so this is a direct result of our efforts last year with Sustainable Jersey. We recertified as bronze, and we put in for grant money. We were a municipality that had never been awarded grant money before, so we were a likely recipient, and we were very happy, obviously, to win that grant and put it to good use for the community. And we are steamrolling towards silver this year. We just got our first round of submission for Sustainable Jersey back this year. We're at 250 points, which is already 100 points more than we had last year. And we are working on our priority items and the remaining point items to make sure we do get to silver this year, which will be a tremendous 2-year span. I want to thank Pat Pinto individually because she has been kind of the vanguard and the spearhead, just going out and making sure we're all keeping our ducks in a row. On that same similar topic, we have a resolution on the agenda tonight for Complete Streets. There's another application that can be applied for technical assistance with Complete Streets, and we had representatives from both the Green Team and the Environmental Commission go to a seminar on that topic, and we were able to work together really quickly, bring this to the council agenda. And thanks Eve for making sure we got it on the agenda tonight. I know with our 1 meeting a month in the summer here, it's a little challenging. We have a deadline of July 27th to submit this. So thank you to everybody involved for their efforts in getting this to the council's attention and on the agenda tonight. I expect it to pass. So thank you all. And that's my report.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, without further interruption, we'll move on to the communications petitions, request from Parks and Rec to hold the overnight camp out at Count Basie on Friday, July 27th and Saturday, July 28th. Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any members of the public have any comments on any resolutions on the public agenda or ordinances this evening? Motion? Yes, Kate.
Hi, Kate Trigiano, 22 Layton Avenue.
we were just having a quick car, so I figured we should wrap it up properly. I'm the chair of the Environmental Commission in Red Bank. I also want to personally thank you for getting that resolution onto the agenda so quickly. We've been going and looking at many grants. I know we worked with you on one that's out right now, which is the Emerging Centers Grant. And we've already seen the effect of having a grant writer, wherein that we were often doing a lot of that legwork. And it was so nice when Z talked to Christina and Dave Schmetter and said, you know, we can take it from here and help you. So that's a big difference. Similarly, with this resolution and you getting it on there so fast, the Rutgers seminar was so recent. We were, you know, made aware of a deadline, you know, end of July. So we really needed this resolution to get in once again for us to have opportunity for more grant money for the town. And then lastly, more grants on grants. The water refill stations, I just want to touch on that again. That was an amazing group effort. We had a wonderful grant writer on our green team for a hot second, but unfortunately she has since moved to Vermont. But she was a great help, and it's really a great full piece, the whole thing. So we had heard that there were problems with the water fountains in the parks because they're not sanitary. So that was one thing. We heard that there was nowhere for dogs to get a drink, so that was one thing. We wanted more educational components in our parks, that was another thing. And this is a piece of infrastructure that completes and satisfies all three of those points for these parks it's going to go into. We're going to have free filtered water accessible, that's sanitary. We're going to have educational infographics on our migratory birds and other birds that exist on the Navasink in English and Spanish. We're going to have these dog bowls that filter the water in and out so that they're sanitary. So I actually was at a separate meeting last night with somebody who works for Sustainable Jersey, not on the grant awarding end, but he kind of whispered across the table, he said, hey, by the way, everyone was talking about what you submitted for and thought it was the most complete grant we saw. And when we were at the Sustainable Jersey Grant Award ceremony, I actually had 2 mayors and 2 EC chairs from different municipalities in the state come up to me and say, where did you find that piece of infrastructure? I've never seen anything like that before. So what I'm hoping for is that, you know, by introducing this piece of infrastructure, we didn't go straight to the LK catalog and go, okay, this is where there's like, you know, refill stations that we normally order. We looked to the West Coast, we looked to places that have nice infrastructure and solutions because Red Bank is a beautiful place, you know, a progressive place. And, you know, I'm hoping that this is the start of us realizing what kind of aesthetics our town really deserves. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on anything on the public agenda? If not, move to close. So moved. Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, moving on to ordinance 2018-21, a bond ordinance amending bond ordinance 2014 through 18, adopted on April 9, 2014 by the council. And further amending bond ordinance 2014-11, adopted May 14, 2014, also to increase the total section 2:20 costs by $150,000 from $450,000 to $600,000. Motion to introduce the bond ordinance. Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Ballard?
Yes.
Councilman Ziprich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Horton?
Yes.
Public hearing will be on August 15, 2018. For ordinances for public hearing and final adoption, ordinance 2018-14, which is the proposed ranges of the salary ordinances for officials of the Borough of Red Bank, amended and reintroduced on June 27, 2018. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this particular ordinance? If not, motion to close. Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion to adopt. Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Ballard?
Yes.
Councilman Ziprich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Horton?
Yes.
The ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 2018-19 is the ordinance that has been withdrawn, so we move on to ordinance 2018-20, an ordinance amending chapter 16. I'm sorry, my apologies, I've got one crossed off that's wrong. 16 was withdrawn, so 19 is still on. 2018-19 is an ordinance that amends and supplements chapter 490
for the planning and development regulations regarding commercial parking facilities. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this particular ordinance? There being none, motion to close. Second. All in favor? Okay, the planning board reviewed this Monday night. Their recommendation was that it was, that it was consistent with the master plan, and in light of any assistance it could render to private parking, it should be adopted by the council. There are only two caveats, or the same, I think, 2 points that I raised, which are now covered in the ordinance, that the police department must enforce the fire zone regulations for the protection of the general public, and that the designated handicapped parking in any of those private lots may not be used for any vehicle other than a handicapped parking vehicle. Otherwise, the handicapped parking summons will be issued in those private lots. So it's consistent with what we talked about. So is there a motion? Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Roll call.
Councilman Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Ballard?
Yes.
Councilman Zipperich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Horton?
Yes.
Okay. Next is ordinance 2018-20, which is an ordinance amends chapter 680 of the traffic regulations, and creates a handicap parking spot for the residents' request on Tilton Avenue. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this? If not, motion to close. I'll move. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Taylor?
Yes.
Councilman Whalen?
Yes.
Councilman Ballard?
Yes.
Councilman Zipperich?
Yes.
Councilwoman Horton?
Yes.
The ordinance is adopted. Resolutions 18-182, authorizing the approval of sidewalk cafes, which were not included on the last list. Motion? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Resolution 18-183, a resolution support for the local governing authority application for the Complete Streets Technical Assistance Program. Mark? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution 18-184, resolution appointing special law enforcement officer class 2. Michael?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 18-185, a resolution certifying review of recommendations and findings of the annual audit. Councilman Ballard? Second.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 18-186, regarding the Borough Red Bank Report of Audit for the year ending December 31, 2017, and the corrective action plan. Michael? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 18-187, authorizing and providing for the issuance of special emergency notes in the amount not to exceed $60,000 to fund the revaluation of real property. Motion. Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 18-188, extending a contract with the lease of demolition for solid waste recycling collection for a couple of months. Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 18-189, authorizing contracts with certain approved state contract vendors for contracting units for police vehicles, which is our annual recycling of police vehicles. Michael?
So moved.
Second.
I know you
Oh, yeah. Well, you're one, you're police commissioner. How about Councilman Ballard for second? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Then we get to resolution 18-190, which is the resolution confirming the time and place for the Borough Council meetings, workshop sessions for August 29th, October 3, October 31, and December 5. Motion? I'm sorry?
After the act resolution.
Yeah.
So on 191.
190.
Meetings is 190.
Meetings is 190. Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor? Resolution 191, authorizing the extension of the grace period on taxes, so that the third quarter taxes, the grace period is extended to September 14, 2018. Motion? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? And Resolution 18192 is a resolution requesting the governor, the state legislature to review the New Jersey pet protection law and enhance regulations and restrictions on the sale of cats and dogs from commercial breeding facilities to adopt a statewide exclusion. Motion, Kathy? Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Resolution 18193, a resolution regarding the payment of bills. Be it resolved by the Mayor and Council, the bills to be paid on the attached check registry totaling $5,405,679.08. So moved. Second. Second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any old business? Any new business?
I have one comment, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to thank you for appointing Ms. Mary Harrison to the Red Bank Housing Authority. I've known Ms. Harrison for a long time. As you mentioned, she's a former executive director of the Housing Authority, so she knows Evergreen and Montgomery Terrace, as well as Cedar Crossing, backwards and forwards, up and down. And she's a strong, feisty young lady, and I'm sure her voice will be welcome to the authority and help move our low-income and affordable housing efforts forward. And senior, yes, thank you.
I can't think of any other person in Red Bank that knows more about the functioning as well as the issues and needs of individuals of low and moderate income and seniors in terms of housing needs and goals than Mary Harrison, having served and worked in that capacity for the greater part of her life. And she's still a Red Bank resident. As you said, she's still very articulate and opinionated, which is what we need. So thank you, Mike.
Just a quick comment too, Mayor. I do want to thank the rest of the council for the efforts with regard to the so-called puppy mill ordinance. I know it's been a trying several months. And I think we may resolve this kind of issue in the future. At the outset, Mike and I were opposed to the introduction of the ordinance because we thought it was flawed on its face. That cost the borough money. And if we ended up going through the last 6 months like we did, and we spent a lot of time, effort, and resources debating this issue, I hope that C's proposal for these workshop meetings will get us to consensus, allow us to meet with stakeholders before we introduce ordinances and create these kind of fiascos, for lack of a better word. So I want to thank everybody for the resolution tonight. I'm hoping we can work more cohesively in the future.
I appreciate you saying that, Mark. I think that in my conversations with Z about the workshop meetings, these are the kinds of things that we'll address going forward. I mean, the whole shift in the way that this governing body is operating now with the addition of our new business administrator, I think is a move in the right direction.
Simply put, it's better going.
I agree with both of you, and we're lucky to have Z. Thank you, Z.
Okay, any other new business? If not, audience. Ms. Burning.
Good evening. Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace Street. So in 2011, Red Bank gets a Monmouth County matching grant of $567,000, which we have to pay half of, to turn the only nature preserve in Red Bank into a spray park. After many years and spending thousands of dollars to our T&M engineers, the plan was scrubbed and grant returned. However, we took out a $600,000 bond. In 2017, Red Bank applies for another Monmouth County grant with a scaled-down park, and it was denied. So I was shocked, as were others who live on Locust Avenue, when they saw all the trees cut down at Locust Nature Preserve, or Bellhaven Nature Preserve. And so what I want to ask tonight is, why has there been no discussion publicly or by the council? Why is Red Bank moving forward with this park? What's the plan? Where's the funding? Why is there no regard to Red Bank taxpayers who are facing an almost 5% tax increase? And what I really want to know is, who gave the order to cut down the trees in Bellhaven? I mean, I know DPW didn't do it on its own.
See, are you familiar with the issue? Yeah, Mayor. Okay. Push the button. If you could just go through the questions one by one, just so I can make sure I answer them all for you.
Well, why has there been no discussion on this? This was something that was a hot topic for like 3 years. And then all of a sudden, all the trees get cut down, and there's no discussion about a design. There's no money. We're trying to save money, 5% raise in taxes, and yet, we're building another park.
Sure. So I think I've got the gist of your questions. If I leave something out, just because since this is public comment, to give other people an opportunity, I'll answer them. I just don't like to engage in a back and forth. But since my time being here, I've attended a few meetings on those. A couple of them were public. I know there was a meeting of the Environmental Commission and the Parks and Rec Committee, at which members of both, along with myself and members of the council, were all engaged in that. Those were public meetings. We discussed the redesign plans because members of the council and myself and the committees all felt the constraints of the budget and wanting to do the most fiscally prudent thing. So the project was scaled back to fit within an existing bond ordinance on the project. So there is funding in place, not in the operating
From
budget.
the $600,000 bond that we took out?
I believe that's the exact, yep, that's the amount, correct.
I mean,
So
we've spent some of that.
we have spent some of that, and that was what we reworked. We redesigned that, we scaled it back, we tried to make sure that it is kept in touch with the character of a nature preserve. And so the cutting of the trees, which really, whether they were trees of full growth and maturity or not, whether there was overgrowth, is debatable. But the point is, in order to move the plan forward, some clear cutting and landscaping had to occur, and that's where we're at today. So the project is going to be moving forward, and there's been a number of opportunities for the public to remain involved. I'm excited and hopeful about where this is going.
Well, you know the council was against it the last time. And the people on Locust don't even want this. I'm
Well,
just
I
letting
don't
you
want
know.
to, again, I just mentioned, I don't want to go
I know
back
you don't
and
want
forth.
to
I'd be
debate.
happy to chat with you
Yes, I'll come in.
separately, but what I keep saying since starting here 2 months ago is I try not to live in the past. I try to look to the future and learn from the past. So the council has, you said that maybe they were opposed to this in the past. I think we're looking at moving forward with the project and doing the best we can with what the past has brought us to today.
Okay.
And I'm hopeful to the future, and I think that the council is also.
Okay, thanks. Let's move on to the second question.
Sure.
The second question is, who gave the word to the DPW to cut the trees down?
I don't know that there was explicit word or order. I don't
Well, there
think
had to be.
needs
I don't think Cliff would do it on his own.
What I'm saying is, I don't think there needs to be. The project is moving forward. And
Wait, there needs to be a directive in order for the head of DPW to cut down all the trees.
Okay.
Somebody had to say, you gotta go and do it.
Okay.
So who did that?
I don't know that that's relevant because the project needs to move forward. And
I
so
think
the
it's
work-
very relevant.
Okay, well.
Because I want to
as
know,
said,
as a taxpayer, who did that? Because I had my forester.
DPW did do the work.
Yes, I know they did. And
Okay.
who told them to do it? That's my question.
Okay. As I said,
If I can just supplement that, no cutting was done without the approval of the DEP.
Okay. Well, I know that DEP approved the cutting for the last proposal. And so I guess that applies to
We went back.
whatever
and they-
proposal you
They
have.
sanctioned the landscaping that was done at the site. most recently.
Okay. Well, I'm very familiar with cutting of trees because I have property in trees in Coltsneck. And I have a forester because I'm under forestry management. I had him come down and look at the site. And the three largest trees, you have a 100-year tree, you have a 60-year tree, and a 30. The 30 had to go, but the 60 and the 100, the stumps were solid. And trees are a big component in a park because they provide shade, especially when you have a park that faces southwest and all afternoon. And I just think, the people didn't know what was going on down there, and I think you should have reached out, and this seems real sneaky to me because nobody knew about it. And I think, the money that we're going to have to spend for maintenance, for crime prevention, private property issues, that's all going to cost money.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Mr. Boyd?
Good evening. P.O. Box 2074. Mr. Miller, I called the borough administrator to speak to him. He never called me back. I feel, though, that he's here to represent Red Bank and hear from the people's concern of this town. And I understand he's new, but if he's looking to move forward, he should turn people's phone call.
I think, Fred, there is a procedure which we're following on all of these issues and calls for management of time, and I think that the administrator will address that in a second.
Yeah, Mr. Boynton, your message to my assistant was received. She did reach back out to you. I know there was an exchange of communication.
I don't like to-
What she requested of you in order to schedule the meeting was just additional information and some background information on the purpose of the meeting, and then she would schedule it, and that's all we're waiting on. So I'm happy to meet with you. I've met with the countless residents as well. I haven't yet met with non-residents, but I'm happy to meet with residents. And if you simply just explain to me the nature of that meeting, we'll be happy to set that up.
I reached back to your secretary and told her what the meeting's for. And I also told her, you didn't respond back, I will call the mayor's office.
Okay.
And I spoke to the mayor. But my concern is, you met with the ministers. I knew about this. I'd like to be meet with.
Yeah, I'm happy to meet with you. If you could please
But
just...
I don't like to talk to some secretary to tell her what I'm coming to talk to you for.
No,
Because rumors gets out. I'd like to talk to a man face to face. And I appreciate if you call me back, like I call you, return the call. You here representing the borough, you're being paid by the taxpayers. That's what we're looking for.
Right. So the way I do things, Mr. Boyan, is I ask that you email me. My information's here on my business card. You can email me with the nature of what you'd like to speak with, then we can schedule that.
I don't want to email nobody. I like to speak face to face.
Unfortunately, we won't be able to set up that meeting then. Thank
You
you.
shouldn't be a borough administrator in this town.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ms. VISCOMI.
His name is VISCOMI, 25 Cedar Street. Mayor, I just want to follow up. I know in September 2016 is when the start of the meters changeover started. And a year ago, July 26, 2017, we had a discussion that there was about 600 meters still to be switched over. It was talked about in December of 2017 and again in March 28th when you did a few actions. One being, I know there was a concern, people wanted to know the metrics, how many truly needed to be switched over. And you said that you wanted it in writing, that you would send a letter to the DPW to get an exact number. I was just curious what that number was.
There was follow-up, and I don't know whether or not Ziad is familiar with the actual numbers, but the issue that you raised was a legitimate one. And that was, you were ostensibly told, and others were ostensibly told, that the changeover in the metering for irrigation and others would have to await the complete transformation system. And I sort of questioned that, but I think Ziad knows the follow-up in terms of when we will be ready to go on to the next phase.
Thank you, Mayor. For the benefit of the council and the public, we've been holding meetings every 2 weeks on this topic. We are down to just around 300 meters left to be changed over. So we've been making significant progress in the last few months. Some of them are a matter of scheduling, some of them are a matter of plumbing issues where homeowners need to make some plumbing repairs. We're also looking at other options right now. Some of those include installation of meter pits, which will be easier than waiting around and holding up the project due to some either plumbing issues. So we've got regular meetings. We just had a meeting about 2 weeks ago also with the contractor, the president of the company. Letters will be going out to others with a discussion of their options and how we can complete that remaining 300 changeover.
Also on that March 28th meeting, the idea was talked about putting on fines for people who do not comply. I was wondering if you had any metrics on that. Were fines issued and the letter ever sent out?
No fines have been issued. No fines have been issued. No. We want to make sure that the borough has done everything in its authority and everything within our powers to facilitate and ensure that the changeover is happening before we just start issuing fines.
I mean, I can tell you I've been personally involved with a couple of residents' calls where the holdup in the conversion had nothing to do with the residents, it had everything to do with the contractor. So there are those glitches, and I hope that that meeting with the contractor solves those issues, because, we've been told that it's always on the resident side, but not from what I've been able to see.
So do you regret then extending the cost for that? At the beginning of the year, we had to extend the contract for additional fees. And the excuse was from the contractor saying it was residents not able to access the house correctly. So do you regret extending their contract? Because now it seems like the cause is on the contractor.
No, I didn't say all of the fault was on the contractor. The residents and the number of residents are being very obdurate. I said some of the fault was also on the contractor.
Okay, no, I'm sorry for
So it wasn't all. What I'm saying is that there's fault on both sides, but we're trying to move it along.
And at the time, we also talked about the second water meter does not necessarily have to be mutually exclusive to completion of the first, that someone can go out and get specs and get costs and updated information for the technology.
That's what I was hoping for.
And has that come to fruition?
That's what I'm waiting for also. And I don't see any need why we have to wait until everybody hooks up, that we don't at least have the specs on what we can put out. It's a common sense thing.
Right, that was one of the benefits I know the GOP ran when they helped with this vote. So who's taking ownership of that? Who is going to try to get the specs? Because now this is the second summer, and one of the beautiful things about Red Bank here is our houses and our lawns, and we want to take pride in it. I see some streets don't want to pay that extra money because you're paying a higher water bill, and you got brown lawns, and it just adds to, pride in this town. So I was just wondering, is the goal for next summer then? Just try to keep everybody accountable and keep it on top of the issue.
Well, I was impressed that upstairs our new administrator has a screen that has accountability on there written all over it. That's one of the items on there, and you'll be following up tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Katrina. I'm new. I just have a...
Can we have your last name, because we're on tape?
Fair.
Your address, yeah.
Katrina Fair, 36 Cedar Crossing.
Thank you.
No problem. I just have a question. Is there a way we can enforce laws when it comes to Dr. James Parker Boulevard? Usually I work at Rite Aid and I walk home to 36 Cedar Crossing, and there are many times where I almost end up getting hit by a car because cars don't want to stop. And I was wondering, is there a way maybe we can put either the police people there or a guard or somebody, just, because there's kids that also walk that sidewalk to home, and it's very dangerous walking home. So.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry, Mike.
No, we could definitely put up a speed trap, and I know in the past when residents have come up complaining about certain blocks, that we can run Captain Frazee might be able to say it a little better, but we can, for X amount of days, put up a speed trap and, circulate some data on the block that you're referring to. So that's something that we definitely can do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Ms. Burnham?
Cindy Burnham, 71 Wallace Street. I just want to follow up on what you just said about Z having a chalkboard or whatever with the word accountable on there. But yet nobody will tell me who made the call to DPW to cut down the trees. Who made the call? I know what Cliff told me, but I want to hear from you guys.
I'm just curious, what does it matter who made the call?
Transparency.
Transparency.
No,
I want to know, because I'm asking a question. I'm a resident.
What did Cliff tell you?
No, I want to know.
Right.
You're the borough administrator.
Right.
I would like to know who made the call to DPW to cut the trees.
Ms. Burnham, I bother to know things that I think are relevant, and frankly, I'm failing to see how that is relevant.
Well, is it relevant or not?
Ms. Burnham, if
I think you
finish,
owe the
if I may
people
finish, Ms.
and
Burnham,
myself an answer.
Ms. Burnham, if I may finish, okay, because...
Well, I'm noticing this with you. You're talking a lot.
Okay,
one
well,
at a time.
then-
What are you saying, Cap?
One at a time. Let him finish.
I'm asking a simple question, I'm not being able to get an
Let him
answer.
finish, and then you can respond.
Ms. Burnham, you said you spoke with Cliff and he gave you an answer.
He gave me a few different answers. And then I found out different things.
Okay.
Why can't you just tell me who made the call?
I will have to find out and get back to you. As I said, I don't bother to know things that I don't think are relevant. And I fail to see how it's relevant who made that call. DPW was tasked with, if I may finish. Listen, if you want to be disrespectful, Ms. Burnham, I'm not.
I'm not being disrespectful, I'm just trying to get an answer.
Okay.
A straight answer.
I said
Why
he'll get back
can't-
to you. He said he'll get back to you. I approve by email.
I don't think I'm liking this.
Okay, anybody else? If not, there is a need to have a very brief executive session on litigation. No action will be taken this evening, so we will only be adjourning to executive session, coming back just for purposes of adjournment. Motion to retire. Second. All in favor? Aye.
Third.